But it is now time to hit social media for cash tags. For that, we'd like to welcome in Andy Swan, the co-founder of LikeFolio.com, and we have Jenny Horn, Fast Market contributor, here with us in studio to talk some Lululemon.
So Lululemon earnings, this is one of my favorite
Three
topics.
dudes and Jenny talking about Lululemon. That's the perfect show.
Their men's apparel segment is growing. It's like about 26% now, I believe. So it is growing. So it is a male company as well. But the stock is up 93% year to date, of course, outperforming the S&P's 26% growth year to date. But more importantly, they're outperforming their competitors. That's an Under Armour, a Nike, and Adidas. But if you look at the stock going into earnings, you can make a bearish or bullish case because there's a lot of different factors to consider. They're expecting digital revenue to double, but more importantly, international sales to quadruple.
See, that's where I think
That's
huge.
huge.
The crazy part of Lululemon that some American investors don't realize is that this is getting cult status in Europe and Asia.
Completely.
Cult status.
And that's, of course, the bullish case. The bearish case now is they're trading at something of 48 times forward earnings. So this is a high valuation. Many people feel like they're overpriced. So, Andy, I'm really curious to see, is this company's strength actually going to be its weakness going into earnings?
Yeah, it could be. So Lululemon, I think, this is a great company. Like Kevin said, a lot of what we talk about probably won't be reflected in those European and Asian numbers, because what LikeFolio tracks is people talking about shopping at the store, buying digital products, or buying through the digital app on Lululemon, and it's English speaking only. So we don't capture a lot of the potential upside in that quadrupling internationally. But what we see in terms of English speaking consumer demand, we do see a little bit of flatlining for a company that is used to year over year growth. And so the way that I'm looking at this right now is the stock is priced to absolute perfection. I think it's unlikely that the company is going to deliver absolute perfection on this call. So I'm looking at a bearish tilt on this going into earnings. This is a widowmaker stock, though, so it's one you got to be very, very careful with. We've been bearish on this and been burned before. So with all those caveats out there, look, LikeFolio data among English speakers shows at least the hyper growth party is over. We've still got a really important few weeks coming up for the company, but in terms of where we're at today compared to prior years, the growth that we normally expect just isn't there among English speakers.
Great, Andy. Now you've made Jenny sad. You've made my daughter Alex sad. Everyone in the office is watching your presentation on Lulu, and you've made them all sad.
Well, if you want to take a little solace, I've been beaten betting against this stock many times.
Last quarter, I remember.
Yeah. Fading Andy Swan on this one may not be the worst idea.
That's funny. I mean, this is one of those companies that I love to look at tweets because, people love this company.
Yes.
Not even from a consumer standpoint, of course, shopping, which I love to look at, but also just from a stock standpoint. People love to talk about Lululemon. So our first tweet says, Lulu's strong weekly earnings Wednesday after the bell. This has been really bought into, expectations really high. They need to blow it out or they will see some nice profit taking. So kind of like what I mentioned, valuations are so high, they really need to have a perfect earnings report, or else they could kind of see what Andy is talking about and they could kind of get hit.
I agree with that completely. Just because, like we've said on this show many times, it doesn't matter what I think about the stock or the company. Sometimes I want to be long it, sometimes I want to be short it, right? And this stock has gone so far, so quickly. And make no mistake, if you look at the fourth quarter of last year, no matter how good this company was last year as well, when the overall market went down, so did Lululemon.
Andy, a couple of questions here, because I think we're saying the same thing we've said for 3 or 4 quarters now with Lulu. It's priced for perfection, but this is a company that you can't argue with. It has delivered perfection, even beyond perfection, if that's possible, for 3 or 4 quarters in a row. And I can see why, you're looking at this and saying, how much more can it go? And it has. So when you're seeing that, is this one that you dial back size a little bit, even if you are, a little bit convicted in a direction one way or another? And then one other question just about your data in general. We were talking with Megan yesterday, and obviously the fourth quarter, a lot of these tweets are going to be based off of gifts received, which aren't actually going to be, out there yet. You're not going to go out there and say, I just bought all these gifts at Lululemon. It's more going to be, I received these gifts post the Christmas holiday and the other holidays as well. So is that where you guys are going to really hone in on? Is that the end of the year and see how Lulu's doing?
Yeah, the end of the year and the very beginning of the year, because Lulu actually benefits quite a bit from the New Year's resolution cycle, as a lot of people start to talk about they're going to be taking up yoga, they're going to get into exercise classes and things like that. So they have a very important 3 to 4 week period that we watch very closely that actually starts about right now. Now, they are reporting after the bell today, so we got to put something out there. We're going to put out there that, I don't think that they're going to blow out as much as Wall Street needs them to blow out at current prices. On the other hand, I do think that there's some good news. Jeff Mackey put out a great tweet today, just, comparing what Lululemon was doing with other, fashion retailers and showing that they are not discounting their goods really in any way. And I think that's a super important point. It shows that the consumer is really strong with this company. They don't have to mark down prices, but that's also just a factor of, they've got a lot of buyers still ready to come in, like you're talking about, Alex, for gift giving and that New Year's resolution cycle of, I'm going to get myself in shape or get into the yoga studio this year.
And you mentioned, that's a really good point. You mentioned they're discounting. I actually saw some of the best deals I've seen on Lululemon in a while at Cyber Monday. They actually had more discounts, which their discount section is so small of their store. Actually more discounts than I've really ever seen before, which was remarkable to me because things never really go on sale at Lululemon. So our next tweet is from Tom, who says, you would think $80 gym shorts would scare people away. Lululemon was absolutely mobbed this weekend at the mall. Lines snaked throughout the store. They report earnings Wednesday. So funny word in there, mall, because I typically associate Lulu with not being in malls, but...
Well, that's because you live in the city where they have a big one, but the Lululemon in the suburban mall where I live is a mob scene. It's like,
it's crazy.
It goes Lululemon, Apple Store, Peloton, and you can't get near this area of the mall. These three stores are right in a row, and it's a madhouse in this area.
And, I live right by one.
Yeah.
It's a mob scene.
Yes.
So this must be a good sign for them, of course. Being packed at a store is always a good thing. So Andy, do you see that at all with people saying these stores are super crowded at this time of year, or holiday sales will be really strong for this company?
Yeah, I think, on the mall topic, I think that's a really good point. I think American Eagle tipped us off a little bit today in their call where they had pretty good numbers, but they came out and said that mall traffic was down pretty significantly, and part of the reason that they were warning on forward guidance. And so as much as, Lululemon's not nearly as reliant on mall traffic as some of these other brands, but, in that sector, I do think that there is a little bit of a problem going forward. Although, like Kevin said, I think the mall traffic that is there is going toward the section of the mall that has the Apple Store and the Lululemon, not necessarily the American Eagle.
I think it's a good point, Andy. Kind of wrapping it all up here, obviously this is a company that's executed really well and capitalized a ton on really being in the right area with all the trends. Obviously, businesses moving to more casual type of apparel has brought, for menswear in particular, a lot of their products are popular for that. They're popular for golf. Obviously, the yoga and the wellness side of trends has really benefited Lululemon as well. But, coming to what you guys are kind of putting out there for your earnings call on this, it's really more from a valuation standpoint, and this is just a stock that's gone parabolic over the last 2-3 years, and you're starting to see, at least on the English-speaking tweets that you're monitoring, a little bit of a flat line.
Yeah, you got it. Eventually the Patriots lose. Eventually, Lululemon drops after earnings. Will this be the one? I don't know. I'm leaning that direction pretty hard myself. We'll see how it works out.
Andy, I was there when Michael Jordan missed a buzzer shot once, so I can tell you it can happen to anybody.
And I do have to say, I did get my dad's Christmas present this year at Lululemon.
Oh, there you go.
Well, hopefully he's not watching.
Yeah.
Whoa, spoiler alert,
don't
Dad.
tell him.
Andy, we'll see what happens. This is one I think that's on a lot of people's minds going into this. It's represented a company executing really well over the last couple of years, but great stuff as always. And we'll check back within you maybe in January and see how they're starting the year off.
Yep, sounds good, guys. Thanks.
All righty, Jenny, thanks for the insight. As always,